What's up, fight fans? Get ready. Let's do this. We got a lot to talk about. So, what's up, fight fans? And we're back at it with another edition here at Round One Sports TV. I am your host, Edwin. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Please give this video a like as you come in. And let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. We have a lot to talk about today. There's a couple things I want to talk about. Then I want to talk about the Naoya Inoue and Louis Nery and their what Naoya is looking like right now. I have a little bit of CAD work that he was doing. I'm going to introduce that a little bit later on in the video. First, I'm going to get to some of the boxing news that's going around in boxing. Okay. Um, let's first start off with the fights that just passed. I wasn't able to get on that Saturday. In fact, I had some family arrangements these last couple days that took my attention. So, but quickly, let's just go over it. Okay. So we had Smith versus Zapata, and that was a good fight until it wasn't anymore, right? I noticed that Zapata's top part of his body, he still got it when it comes to the punching. As far as the spring in his step and his knees, they're going on him. Father Time is catching up with him. It happens to the best of us. He wasn't just able to really get those lateral movements and be able to be slick on his cuts and it fast. He was more stationary. Um, and Smith figured him out and he hit him with a good body shot. It was clean. And Cepeda says he's going to retire after this. All boxers say that. We might just see him in one more. He might not want to go out on his career with a loss. So he might look forward to getting maybe a lower rank opponent and walking out. Every fighter goes through that at some point in their career, at the end of their career. They make these kind of decisions, right? There was a lot of fights on that card, and a pretty interesting one. It was a lower fight, a British fight. Ricky Haddon's son fought. Yo, man, he looks just like Ricky Haddon, bro. I was like, holy shit, is that an old Ricky Haddon video? Right? Because I caught some of the highlights. I didn't actually get to see that fight. And then I was looking at him. I was like, I didn't remember Ricky Haddon having tattoos like that. Yo, he looks just like his father, man. I was like, oh shit. And he fights just like him. Fights just like him too. I mean, listen, talk about you made him yourself. Ricky Haddon made that young man himself. Okay. Uh, he has the same flaws his father does. The same flaws, everything. It was like he's just a little bit more fluent in boxing than his dad was, a little bit, just a slightly. He looks a little slicker. Um, it looks like he tightened up, where his father was, more of that pressure kind forward fighter. He would just batter you coming forward. Yeah, Ricky Hatton has skills though. No, I can't. Nah. Thinking back, it's tough because they looked alike. They look alike. They look alike. But anyway, so that kicked off, and you know, that was a great night. There was a lot of good fights on that card. There was a lot of upsets on that card. I remember. Um, there were a lot of guys seemingly to be winning the fight and then end up losing the fight. So, as well going on in boxing news right now, in other headlines going across boxing right now. It's being reported and the rumors are starting to fly about Errol Spence Jr. and his coach, Derek James. And that Derek James is allegedly going to sue Errol Spence Jr. for back pay you know um and then a lot of people have a lot to chime in and they're gonna interject what they think, why these things are occurring. First of all, It's over money. Okay. Derek James feels that he was being shortchanged, right? When what happened was, it wasn't that Errol Spence Jr. wasn't hiding anything from him, because at the negotiating table for the bid for the purse, for the what they were paying him for the bout, Derek James was made aware of that. They were straight up with each other, and Errol Spence Jr. gave him the percentage of what they were being paid for the fight. And yeah, what Derek James is saying now is he was hearing all the reports of Errol Spence Jr. making upwards of 20 plus $1 million on pay-per-view. And he feels he's entitled to that too, because you pay him for the bout, he's your coach. You're the reason why you're getting that money is because of him. So he wants a percentage in a whole. And Errol Spence Jr. was only given the percentage of what the bout was. That's it. All the pay-per-view money Errol kept for like 5 matches, he's saying, or some shit like that. Whatever the amount of matches it was. But what I did notice is when Errol Spence Jr. was winning, this was never a problem. Now that Errol Spence Jr. lost, now now we arguing over money. These are matters that could have been addressed face to face. If you consider me like a father figure and I consider you like a son, they have a real close bond. Why is this spilling out to the fact that now people are saying they must not be talking? And he said, well, then I'm going to get my lawyer. So now this is spilling out into the media. You see, so now there's some red flags. And then the fact that Derek James is being, it's reported that Derek James is saying that he locked Errol Spence Jr. out of the gym, meaning he's not allowed to go back. Okay. Now, in my experience in life, there's things that can change a relationship. One of the ways you can change a relationship is how you view a person. If you no longer view that person eye to eye no more because of something he or she did, it lowered your perception of that person. You see, I'm not sure if Errol Spence Jr. is going through some shits in life that he's aware of, and maybe it's a type of character that Derek James frowns on. Like, I don't know if everyone has that family member or that friend, or is it themselves when you go out and they see somebody begging for change and they tell them, get a job, you know? I hate these people always begging for money, always this. You got that person, you might know a person like that that doesn't always like, you know? And if you're his best friend and one day you become a bum and you lose it all and you're standing there and he comes by and sees you, he's gonna he's gonna turn his back on you. You see, his perception of you is you let yourself go. And some people are not willing to have empathy for that. They're your friend. Oh, yeah, they're your friend when everything is good. But when a friendship is tested, you'll really see who your friends are. Yeah, a friend should care for you through your toughest times. My best friend is true what Kevin Hart said. My bullshit is your bullshit, and your bullshit is my bullshit. And we got to work it out. Anyway, a real best friend, anyway. If you've never experienced anything like that, then, you know, but it could be something like that because you can see that respect is lost when things start to spill out and we could no longer come to an agreement. You see, I think Errol Spence Jr., those car accidents, that's a slippery slope. If you've never dealt with situations like that, pain, broken bones, you take a lot of medication. And after 3 months of taking that medication, the doctor cuts you off. What are you gonna do? Are you that strong? Do you really think that 50 cents and his 50 cent movie just threw that shit down the sink and that's how it worked? In real life, you're gonna have to go through some shit. And for a lot of people, they just don't get it. It takes years. I've seen people get it like this though. I have. I really have. And I've seen people struggle with it. Addiction's addiction, right? And I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is maybe he's not addicted to any of these pains pills, but maybe he's not just the same fighter in all. Like his hip broke, his teeth broke, you know, and I'm not sure if Derek James is willing to keep risking. Is he that type of man? Is he that type of coach? I don't know. We're gonna find out when um how Ryan Garcia fares out and see if he turns his back on Ryan Garcia. You see, I don't know. Anthony Joshua stopped by to his training little thing there, and he stopped in, got a fight in, and got two fights and left and left. He's back out and over there. I don't know. And then all of a sudden, you hear there was trouble with Frank Martin with Derek James, and all of a sudden it seems like things start to unravel. Can you keep it all together as a gym? You're about to find out when you're not winning. And then his last fighter, right? Which, we'll just throw in for where's the Charlo twin? It's not looking good for Derek James and his little stable of fighters right now. Yeah, at one time, Derek James was revered as the coach of the year. Remember that? He had two fighters with like seven belts. Yeah, Errol Spence Jr. had three belts, and Jamel Charlo had four. That was one trainer with seven belts and only two fighters. People started going right. Ryan Garcia jumped ship without even telling his camp. He just went straight over to him, and now everything is like this. You know. So where there's smoke, there's fire. But sometimes some of these things are best kept behind closed doors. I really don't care to see the welterweight champion of the world describe throwing out all his financial businesses all over and that him and his coach. No, the sport should be kept prestige, and when young men and women are looking up, they should be watching their favorite champion chase world championships, legacy fights, big fights. Not this, not this, not this going back and forth. We never know how ugly it can get. We've seen in boxing some boxing situations and stories get really ugly, haven't we? I'm sure. So, uh, yeah, yeah. I think that you know, there's ways of handling things. You know what I mean? So, I want to talk about Naoya Inoue preparing for Luis Pantera Naris, right? And this is a really, really, really good fight in itself. The Japanese superstar, he's coming to us with a record of 26 fights, won 23 big ways of knockout. I believe he has a 90% knockout ratio right now. His kid brother, Takuma, he'll be fighting on the card as well. He'll be putting up his WBA 118-pound strap, which that belt was formerly held by his older brother, Naoya Inoue. So that's gonna be a really to watch. It's gonna be interesting to see both the father come out for both sons, because he's usually, talking, but the kid that usually does mitts with Naoya Inoue is the kid, in fact, in the video that I'm about to show you. So he'll be warming him up. Yeah, I think it's gonna be this kid in the back because for years, um, you know, I've seen this kid, the Japanese kid that's I'm holding the mitts. He's always been in a lot of videos with Naoya Inoue, so I believe he's been part of the team for quite some time. You know, for as long as I can remember, unless I seen him with his father Shingo. You know, those are the only two people I've ever seen Naoya Inoue hitting mitts with on videos anyway. Only those two. And in fact, now that I really think about it, right? And before I show you this video of Naoya Inoue hitting pads and stuff, right? I wanna um I wanna touch on the video I just did a few days ago of Rolly and his father hitting pads, right? And I forgot to mention in the video too that if you didn't notice, right, Rolly's dad had jeans on. You knew everything was fucked up there. Like who goes to a boxing gym in jeans to work out? It was just all wrong from the beginning, okay? So anyway, I want to take a look at Naoya Inoue, and I want you just to tell me what you think. I want you to tell me what you think. Hold up, before I do that, let me check my video and everything, and make sure that everything is cool.
Mobile games are
We don't want that. Hear that? Tell me what you think. Yeah, good. Okay. Hold up. Before I do that, let me check my. All right, here we go. So we're gonna be checking out Naoya Inoue and some of his mitt work. Okay, so we're gonna bring that up on the screen right now. Right, hold on. Let me just put this over here and let me bring that out here. Okay, so here we go. We'll just set that up like that. I'm gonna try to blow this up a little bit more. Just make sure. All right. All right. There we go. So let's take a look. I like that little bounce. You see, it's good. His footwork is great. It really is. It really is. And pay attention to that too. First, we're gonna take a close look at his pad work. Anticipation of a punch coming back, hit and evade. So that's gonna be the drill. He doesn't know when he's probably gonna do it. Boom, boom. He's working on punches. Bang, bang. The form. So pop, boom, slip, boom. Nice calm walk through. Boom, 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 boom. See, he's working on punches. He's bam, bam. The 1-2 slip, boom. See, do you see the difference between Rolly and his dad and Naoya in a way? They're actually working on things. His footwork, right? Right? I was starting to notice, right, on some of the I was going back, right? And I was watching the Japanese superstar. And what's up, bro? Yeah, he has crazy footwork. And I was going back, right? Check this out, right? I got a little homework for you guys if you want to take this on, right? Because I want you to see it for yourself. I should try to pop this up. I think I can do it and find all these videos and show you. I'm not really sure if I could do that, but let me get to my point. Check it out, right? So today I was going back and I was looking at the Japanese superstar and I was starting to like really break down some of his fights more. It seems like every time I watch his fights, I learn something new. I truly do, right? So today I'm sitting back and I'm watching his fights and I couldn't help but notice that he literally turned into the guy that was standing in front of him like a chameleon. I don't know why I really didn't notice it. I thought that he was doing like a lot of guys' styles against them, but I didn't think that he was looking exactly like them. I started watching the highlights today, and I'll tell you the fights where he turns right into his opponent. Listen, if you go back and watch the Marlon Tapales fight, watch the Marlon Tapales fight. You don't even have to watch it closely. Just watch both their stands. They're like mirror images of themselves. He has his hands in the position the exact same way he does. Even his feet. I was looking at it and I was going, is he beating him with his own style? And then I watched the Stephen Kubo Fulton fight. When he came out in the first round, he came out in the Philly shell. He assumed that he was going to come out in the Philly shell, but Stephen Kubo Fulton came out in a high guard. He, Naoya Inoue came out in his style like this. Yo, when he fought, he did it a lot, and I never really noticed it. I was like looking at him, and because I know he doesn't fight everybody the same. And by the way, I actually went back and I actually found a full version of the fight with Taguchi, Ryo Taguchi. And I saw that fight today for the first time. I never got to see a copy. It was always like skips of it. I never got, like to watch it with no breaks. And I watched it today. That was a fucking battle. I didn't know that dude fought him like that, that other Japanese dude. And that was for some Oriental Japanese, to be like the top Japanese fighter. And that was a great fight, man. That dude. So because I was also looking for his toughest fights and what gave him the most problem. Because here around One Sports Talk, we're not biased, right? So I like a fighter, but I also try to think of ways of what it would take to beat that fighter. And I try to think of it and, where was his who gave him the most problems? Now, it always seemed for me, that each man that brought him the distance brought something to the fight, whether it was height, size, they brought something to the fight. It was never someone really his equal so much. I believe that Donaire was probably the closest that really boxed him like that. Everyone else kind of was a punching bag. Araya Oguchi, he fought him. It's just that um Naoya Inoue was just a sharper with his punches. And that's just the best way to put it. He was just sharper. And he was beating him to the punch, and Orion, he couldn't catch up to him. I watched that fight. And it was a good fight, and believe me, that the other Japanese kid won a few rounds against him, which is good because impressively enough, this is not talked about enough with Naoya Inoue. This is not talked about enough when it's all said and done and they finally go into what he did in each fight, they're going to start to realize he didn't lose a lot of rounds. in his entire career. There are not many rounds, period, that he's ever lost in a ring. That's what kind of fighter he is. They're going to have to start nitpicking. Oh, he lost this round. Oh, lost that round. No. There have been a lot of champions that have been down in fights to come back to win the fight. Many of times, Terrence Crawford was down in his fights on the scorecard. Yeah, he was. He Sean Porter fight, he was down in the scorecards. Until somebody whispered in his ear, "Oh, you're losing the fight." And, what? Game over, right? He was losing against the break guy in the fifth round. One punch. Boop. Game over. Yes, he changed the fate of the fight, but he was losing the fight until he knocked the guy out. You see, not with this guy. There has not been a fight where that he was losing. Up to 26 fights, there has never been a fight that he was losing any, like on the scorecards leading into like the 10th to the championship rounds. That's never happened. Not once. That's impressive. Now, mind you, out of the 26 fighters, 13 of them were world champions. 4 weight divisions. Repeatedly taking the next champion on. And no fight he's ever been in, he's ever been losing in the fight. That speaks to his pedigree of the caliber of champion he truly is. He's a dominant champion, and all these things they're gonna start to notice. Wait a minute, they're gonna start to notice, and the facts are the facts. No matter if you know the guys he's fighting, you still can only be held accountable for the guys that are in your division. That's it. I can't say that Naoya Inoue should fight Subren Matias. Come on, man. That's fucking crazy talk. Why would I start an argument like that? Or who's better? Come on. He's in 140. He's in 122. Let them men cook in their own divisions. Terrence Crawford gets credit for who he beat in his weight divisions. Am I right? Right. So give him credit for who he's beating. And the proof is in the pudding, right? For every man that has ever come on and said, "Oh, I can beat him," one, and lost to him, one. Two, what he's doing, anybody can do. Ain't nobody else doing it behind him. If what he is doing is so easy, right? And there's tomato cans there, right? Right? According to some people, which they're not. Those guys are fucking gladiators, right? Right? Then why ain't no other champion getting past 2 belts? In every weight division he's been in, there has been no man to get past 2 belts. Meaning the best all those guys did was to be able to hold 2 belts at the same time. No one man got 3 from the time he was running through. I'm not talking about Donaire in his prime. No, that don't count. I'm talking about when he was coming through and the men that are there now. And as he was going, we're only talking about this moment in time. Don't start grabbing like champions from weight. No, 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 no. He can only get credit for the men that are active right now. Not one guy, Stephen Kubo Fulton's never had 2 belts. Marlon Tapales has never had 2 belts. None of them. No one has gotten past 2 belts. He's gotten 4 in 2 separate weight divisions. So if what he's doing isn't hard, oh no, then why isn't anybody else doing it? They can't beat each other. They can't seem to hold the belt long enough. They're all fucking good. They keep knocking each other off. Being another champion, being another guy, another guy, another guy. And because that's so hard to hold, because there's so much competition. They are some of the most fastest boxers on planet Earth. 118, 122, 126. Jesus, those guys are fast. And this guy brings power to the equation, right? So what he's doing is really going to be looked at and tallied up at the end of his career. And they're really going to start to be like, wait a minute, he hasn't lost any, he was never losing in any of his fights. Like he was just dominating everyone. You know, if you went 10 rounds with him, he won the 10 rounds. You know, if, you know, some guys won 1 round out of the 10. And then Stephen Kubo Fulton didn't win no rounds. Marlon Tapales technically didn't win any rounds. I gave him the 7th round. I think one judge might have gave it to him, but it was a landslide. You can go back to any of his fights, and that truly speaks to the level of champion that he is. He hasn't had that fight where he had to come back in the fight. The only fight that he had to persevere in was Dodonair, and he didn't have to come back in the fight because he was winning the first and second round until he got the second round had to go to Donair first and foremost. Even if Naoya Inoue outpointed him by punches, which he did, you still got to give the round to Donair because of the cut. So that's a 10-8 round. It was a big gash. That was a big. It wasn't a lot of blood. Then maybe not going to give him 10. They'll give him the 10-9. You know, and I've seen in some occasions the judges give 10-10, award a round 10-10. Yes, I've seen it done. Yeah. So, you know, for the cut by itself, Donaire was getting that round. But other than that, man, it's truly like 13 world champions. And in world title fights against champions, Donaire was the only one that gave him a fight. That's it. The rest of them, I think he knocked out 12 of the 13 champions he fought. Some shit like that. It's ridiculous. Yeah, he's truly, truly like setting a big standard, man. He look, I'm starting to see that the Japanese culture, the more I look into it, the more research. Because there's no race of people that are fucking saints, right? Okay. And the Japanese people, you know, make no mistake, you know, ninjas, warriors, and samurais, and even sumo wrestlers. They're huge, bro. Those Japanese sumo wrestlers are huge. And I always look at them like I'm thinking they're little. I'm like, wait a minute, them sumo dudes is not little, bro. Right? Um, so and it's just their upbringing. The more I started looking into some of the things, their schools, the ways they carry themselves, there was a point in time where they cut themselves off from the rest of the world and no one was able to visit the island. So it was basically just them and their traditions and passing it down through generations. And one of the ways they led by was a very high standard of respect, you know, but their number one rule was never take kindness for a weakness. That was a Western thing. The more a man or gentleman was kind, you know how, like, I'm not sure if I speak for a lot of people, right? But in America, right, as a kid growing up, fighting in school and stuff like that, right? When I first started getting into a fight and I had a kid in front of me, right? And you know, he was acting tough first, but I hit him with the two piece and now he didn't want to fight no more, right? And he's done. He's like, yo, okay, you got it, right? The more that he cowered, the more it enraged me. And I noticed the more that he was like, okay, okay, the more I wanted to hit him until he kept like being weak and saying weak shit to me that it made me hit him. Now, had I just let him go after I beat him and not hit him with that last shot that busted his eye open, then probably, he wouldn't have went and got the homies like he did, right? Okay. Which, because I didn't let him go, later on that week, they called me downtown by myself, right? And I had to do some running, right? So, you see, had I been more like, all right, you're done, just get out of here. And he turns around and left, it probably would have ended right there. The fact, the American, we hype each other up. He was cowering. My man's telling me, bang him, hit him, right? And we thrived off that. In Japan, if a guy gives up and he's like, "Yo, okay, I'm done," it's done. They over. He's like, "All right," and he tells him to go, right? And I'm like, and I saw that, and it was very interesting because it speaks to a level of your control as a person. And, not everybody has control, and these dudes are not angels. They will hack your ass up, right? And they got organized crime just like anywhere else, and drugs and everything. Don't get this facade that they're walking around in robes and living this real humble. Nah, there is a downtown Japan, and there's a lot of bullshit and prostitution that happen down there. It's just like everywhere else, right? Wherever America step, we bring our shit with us, and we'll change you. And as you can see, we done changed some of their cultures, okay? But all in all, it was like they were a fine-tuned machine. The discipline that they learned early as a culture and as a race is still carrying them through while they're starting to change with the future rather than being left behind with technology. They understood they had to take the Westerns, some of them in because they were going to be outgunned. You have to move with the time, whether you want to or not, for your people to survive. So they took that in, but their culture was so strong that even when the Westerners came in and introduced sex, drugs, and rock and roll in a different way, because they already had it, but we just introduced it into a different way to them, that they were still able to sustain a lot of their traditions, and they live by a lot of those traditions today. Naoya Inoue is a Japanese warrior. He has a warrior's mentality, and he's truly born to be a fighter. I was watching him, like I said today. He's truly, truly a fighter. You can't bully that kid. He's not in there pretending to box, where that you can get a tougher guy to intimidate him and he won't show up, right? Like that other Japanese dude, that Floyd Mayweather Jr. in the exhibition fight. He would look good against, and then he was crying and he was falling out the ring, and in a show, Floyd broke his spirit right there. It cracked like a motherfucker. Not this dude. His confidence never sways. He's truly the definition of a fighter. There's a lot of characteristics you need to be a fighter. And I've seen many. I've seen guys that are great skilled, but you could break their will. Really great skill, but your fighter sometimes doesn't have all the traits, right? Sometimes they're stronger in one area than they are in another, you know. Sometimes you can get a real skilled guy. He has a great you won't break his will. He has an iron chin, but he won't train. So you got, there's something always, right? It seems like he is the definition of a complete fighter in all aspects. You can talk about this guy, whether it's his footwork, his ring IQ, his ring generalship, the way he cuts corners. everything. And I mean everything. He's fundamentally solid. Now, no fighter is perfect. Every fighter can work on something, and everyone has a flaw. Everyone can get touched. We are in a fight, aren't we? You gotta you're eventually gonna hit me, right? And the one thing he also has is a good chin. I've seen him get cracked. Donaire cracked him a few times, and there was a lot of other fighters that gave him a good shot. If you pay attention to that Jamie McDonald where he went out there to the European, right? That Brit champion, right? If you watch that fight closely, he drops him the first time. He gets up. The Japanese superstar moves in for the kill. McDonald was up against the rope and he was waiting for this opening and he saw it. The young Japanese superstar at that time, he was still a little green, right? And he was anxious. Oh, and that's another fight where he turns right into McDonald. I swear to God, bro, go back and watch that fight. Yo, watch McDonald the way he's standing and look at he looks like a smaller version. I mean, from head to toe, he's imitating exactly the way he looks. And I mean to the T. Yo, go look at the Marvin Tapales. The first round, he looked just like Marlon. I was like, what the fuck is this? Yo, he doesn't look like that normally. Go to the other fights. He was doing that shit on purpose. I believe it. Listen, yo, he was like this on him, and he was like, yo, he really, really, really was. He's doing stuff in the ring that is watch. Years later, they're gonna be like, huh? And they're gonna look and they're gonna go, yeah, he was doing this. And I'm like noticing this shit because this is the way I think. And I'm looking at him and I just can't help but thinking. I was like, he's looks exactly like the guy in front of him. Bro, I swear, when you get off this video, go check it out. And on my next video, tell me if I'm lying, bro. Every fighter he doesn't do this with. Every fight. No. He did. Um, in some fights, I guess he was working on a certain combination or something. And he had a certain way or game plan. And he showed that he could stick to the game plan. Then in another fight, he'll come out and the guy will, he'll stand real quick. He'll look at him, and then all of a sudden, he turns it right into him. And I was like, huh? So you can see that he's the type of fighter that's trying to prove to the world that his style is the best style in the world. You know how they say styles make fights, and sometimes some boxers avoid some boxers because that style is said to give him the worst. They got people behind the scenes that are percentage guys, and they're saying percentage wise, they're saying that this would be your toughest fight. And guys try to stay away from that guy. What he's saying is, there is no style I can't beat. And if you have a style, I bet you I do it better than you. Your own style. That's crazy. I spoke about this, man, when he was in this ring with Stephen Kubo Fulton, and he was doing the Philly show defense and offense better than Stephen Kubo Fulton. He must have been looking at him saying, but that's my style, and you're doing it better than me. That must have been frightening, right? Fuck. First of all, Stephen Kubo Fulton's claim to fame was his American slick style that was going to give him all kinds of problems, right? When he finally got in the ring with him, that was the one thing he used against him. And Stephen Kubo Fulton, like many fighters that come up with their own unique style, the one thing they practice all the time is their offense on their style and their defense to block, your style against his, how he's going to block. But he never really thinks about fighting against himself and what his style would be against him. How would he defend that? Right? That shit must be freaky. Yo, you're like this. You're like, hold up. Wait, ain't this motherfucker's moving like me? Yo, and listen, it's crazy. Do you think Naoya Inoue will move up after Nery's fight? Yes, I do. What's up, John? Carlos, what's going on? Lloyd, what's up? In the building. Mark, what's up? John says he took him a full 10 rounds. He took him a full 10 rounds. It was a great fight. John, I didn't see that fight until today. You know, I'm not gonna make it up and lie. I've never mentioned that fight, not one time on this show. Have you ever heard me talk about that fight? You know why? Because Japan and them take it down. For some reason, I guess they like, I didn't know Raul or whatever. Gucci, he was that big in Japan too. I when I started looking into the backstory, he was supposed to be Japan's next superstar. Naoya Inoue disrailed that shit. Yeah. From what my research tells me, that Japan was starting to back that guy, Ryo. And Naoya Inoue, he came in and was like, no, baby, I'm the monster, and put his hands on him. And at some point in the fight, uh he was just biting down on the mouthpiece, and you could see he was a lot bigger than young ass Naoya Inoue. Naoya looked like this, bro, and that dude, he was taller, he was stockier, and he was able, they you could see he gained like an additional 20 pounds the night before. He had anywhere between 15, 16 pounds on Naoya Inoue that night. I can guarantee it. I don't know it for a fact, so I didn't look that up. I'm guessing. So don't say, oh, you said 16. No, I'm guessing, but I believe from an eye test. He was a lot heavier than Naoya Inoue from the fight I saw today. It was a great fight, though. Also won the IBF and the ring light flyweight titles on 12/31, 2017. Yeah, did he? That's cool to know. Those who won their Naoya was 13-0 against current, former, future world champions. Yeah, he beat 13. Yeah, yeah, I talked about that. Out of the 26 fighters that he fought. You know, out of the okay, he has 23 world title fights. He's going into his 23rd, right? So he has 22 currently. But no matter what, the minute he puts his foot in the ring with Luis Nares, that makes 23, win or lose. Whether he wins or lose, that adds on to the record only. But the fact that he makes it in the ring that night, that's 23 successful world title fights. You're not going to be able to take that away from him. He entered that fight a world champion, defending 4 belts, whether win or lose. So that's why I always count the 23rd, because that's pretty much official. You understand what I'm saying? So out of the 23 world title fights, he fought 13 world champions and beat them. And I believe he knocked out 12 of them. There's only one world, and then he knocked out Donaire later on anyway. So he's kind of like 12 for 12 if you really, you know what I'm saying? Oh, there we go. Well, I talked about that too, Mark. I'm Naoya Inoue being undisputed at 126. Listen, here's what happened. I'm gonna take you back a little bit. When Naoya Inoue was coming up, he was a very terribly unknown. Even though he was making a lot of noise in Japan, and Japan knew who he was, a lot of the most of the world didn't. We really didn't pay attention to a lot of these lower guys unless you're into that. Okay. Um, Then when he started making a lot of noise and started winning World Series of Boxing, and the way he was doing it and dispatching of all these champions, that we really started taking a better look at him and an understanding of him, right? Okay. So the cat's out of the bag. Everybody that was willing to give him those title fights, all those champions, when they looked at his photograph, they were like, yeah, sign me up, right? Now that the champions know who he is, they're not going to really be willing to sign me up. Not every champion. Now, he eliminated one thing and added one thing. Okay? So now they know what kind of champion he is and who he is and what the danger to fighting him, right? Okay. So when you make yourself that kind of man, you have to do something else to make other champions want to fight you. And the one thing he made himself was a box office seller, a ticket seller, the money. So it's fucked up when you become dangerous, but you're not making that kind of money. Marvelous Hagler. And it was just all risk fighting you because, you know, you're such a freaking threat. You see? But now that he's made himself like about to break through to America and become a even bigger star. Okay? So when you do that, you can entice the other champions to fight you with the money. And everybody for a long time was on that shit. Man, I can't believe y'all lost to this dude. Let me show you how it's done. Watch this. Boop, 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 boop. Oh shit, he's the truth. Nah, don't go in there. No, you're gonna do it too? Nah, y'all two are suckers. Let me show you how it's done. Boop, 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 boop. Yo. And now they're seeing that it's not a fluke with this guy. He's the real deal. So there are some champions that their managers and their handlers are going to tell them, hey, kid, you really want to go out there and you think you have the skills to beat this guy? Or you want to remain champion for a lot longer? Do you like the way when you go out, everyone calls you champ? Do you like the respect that when, your gym is called XY, whatever, champ gym, right? As long as you're champ, all that the revenue, all the sponsorships, they're all right there. You go ahead and fight this Japanese dude and put that all on the line and come back home without that belt. See how long it's going to take you to get a title fight. And them champions are not, no champion wants to relinquish the champion life once you got there. You think it's that easy for these champions at 126 to say, hey, yeah, you know what? I'm the next contestant on the Naoya Inoue fight. Sign me up. Boop, 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 boop. Where's my belt? Oh shit, he walked off with my shit. Yo, baby, where you going? What you need? You need money for the Ferrari payments. Wait a minute. Damn it. I need another title fight. Yo, everybody's not willing just to. You think that everybody's willing. Oh, yeah, let me sign to help the Japanese people out so that he can unify faster. Let me sign up quicker. Shit. Motherfucking champions are going to play keep away. Motherfucking champions are going to avoid him. Motherfucking champions are going to duck him. It's going to be harder now for him to secure fights at 126 than it was ever in his entire career. You hear all these people talking, the storm is coming. The last man standing in his way is fucking Luis Pantera Naris. That's where the boxing game got there. Remember, everybody needs him to lose, right? So Mexico, they got their foot in the door on a default. Actually, Luis earned it, right? But the Japanese Tsar wants a little revenge, right? So on some ninja shit, right? So he won the fight. Luis Pantera Naris won the fight. He got the lottery ticket. I would, if I hit the lottery, you think I'm not gonna go cash in the ticket? You're motherfucking right. I'm cashing in that ticket, right? So I'm not mad at Luis. I'm like, Papi, you obviously you did something to get that fight because there's a lot of other people mad as fuck that they didn't get the fight. MJ, Casamara, and the list goes on. Right? Okay. So I'm interested to see it. I wanna see the words come out of his mouth that where's his future like? Because no sooner that he was like, you know what? I want to stay in 122 pounds and I want to acclimate to 122 pounds and get a couple fights in here because I want my body to catch up, right? And I want to do it right? No sooner that he hit the 122, right? We went like this. He's already got 3 fights. He's already got 3 fights at 122. Stephen Kubo Fulton, Marlon Tapales, and Luis Pantera Nares. 3 fights at 122. Already out the way. So when he was talking about acclimating to the division, I believe 3 fights to do it. you know? Yeah. Yeah, that's about right. And then we have to think about the elephant in the room. The Saudis. You guys heard it. You guys know it. What they say? $69 million. We want to see the Japanese superstar in Saudi. The prince wants him. He called for him himself. You heard it. You heard it. The Saudi prince, although he's a rich dude and he's throwing around money like that, he ain't no fool. He knows boxing. These boxers he was picking out, he was picking out some of these boxers, right? And he was, inviting them all the way out there to Saudi to watch them fight and shit. And he knows what he's doing. So when he's asking the Japanese superstar to come down, he's gonna want to see a mega fight for $69 million, bro. And MJ, Akmadalia, what's his record? I forget what it is. What is it? 11-1 and something, or 12 fights? That's not a big impressive record. He brings no belts to another title defense. Once, if he is successful against Luis Pantera Nares, the Japanese superstar, he will go down in history as an undisputed world champion that successfully defended all 4 belts. Once you get that checked out of the box, why are you staying there? Tell me another reason why you see him staying at 122. What does it does for him? At staying at 122, you're just giving everybody else an opportunity to get it the easy way. Beat one guy and get all 4 belts. All your hard work, all them years, you're gonna give it to one guy in one night, or you're gonna move up. Dare to be great. He's gonna probably challenge the WBO champion. It's the only belt that secures them a title fight. WBC doesn't have that rule in their organization. The WBA or the IBF does not have that option. The only belt that you can exercise that option is the IBO. Yeah. And that's what Terrence Crawford did. That's what Naoya Inoue did to Stephen Kubo Fulton. And that's what Terrence Crawford's doing right now to Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu still has the WBO at 147. They stripped him of the other belts, but the one belt he paid it to my man Chang. Donation $20. What's up, man Chang in the building? You know what I mean? And Chang says, listen, Chang, The division thing, the four division thing is something that if you were to bring it up, say four weight divisions, sometimes it'll go over people's heads. But to put it in its perspectives, Devin Haney has all four belts, and he just recently came into his second weight division. Terrence Crawford has 40 plus fights and all four belts in two separate weight divisions, but he only has three divisions with 40 fights. The Japanese superstar has 26 fights, four weight divisions. That's ridiculous. That's being a champion at when you're 19 years old within a calendar year, becoming a world champion from the day your debut. In only six professional fights, he was already a world champion. It took Terrence Crawford a little over 6 years to get his first crack from the day he turned pro to the day he won his first world title fight at 135. Terrence Crawford was a professional boxer for 6 years before he got his first crack at a world title. This guy fought his first world title fight in only six fights. By his eighth professional fight, he already had two world divisions, two divisions. He had titles in two. That's fucking stupid, bro. That's video game shit. That's you playing on your PlayStation, moving up on Undisputed, and becoming a world champion in like six fights. That's video game shit. That's you playing the game and moving out through the divisions. Human beings don't do this shit. Not even the greatest of our legends were ever able to sustain that. This man right here never did no shit like that. And I believe him to be one of the greatest fighters of like ever. He's probably one of the smartest fighters I've ever seen. I've never seen a fighter start off one way in his career and be so dominant, get a handicap with the things that feed you. These are your weapons. He found a way to minimize the punch strength in his hands and still manage to be undefeated and develop a whole new style at the tail end. That is some elite shit. You can say whatever you want. Maybe he didn't look the best. Maybe he ran whatever, right? But that's some high level shit. You couldn't beat him no way. Not even handicapped. You could beat him. That was fucking saying something. You mean to tell me that the man went to Japan, had surgery, left the sport for 2 years, and came back better than ever? Like, there's not too many people that can do that. That's why men like him, Terrence Crawford, those kind of guys, they only come around, like once in a generation. And the fact that you get to get that kid, maybe there's a kid out there that was better than Floyd Mayweather. I believe there was, but we never got to see him for whatever reason. Maybe he was killed or he got hooked on drugs or went to prison. There's so many things in the world that can take you before we even get to see a person like that. The fact that that person actually gets to the thing that they were born to do and they actually do the sport that they were most favored to, the odds of that child finding that craft is a crapshoot, and when we see it and we get to see it, that's why I say this guy right here was born to fight. From his facial structures to his entire physique, he's a fucking fighter. Bro, the bottom half of his body, his calves are like this big. His legs are like tree trunks. You need a good foundation for your bottom as a base. No matter how big you are up here, if your foundation is in solid timber, right? Look at him from toe, his legs, calves like this. His waist is flexible. He has that. flex, the ability to rock like this, sway. Not every fighter has that. He has that. Twitch muscle movement, his ability like calf reflexes to dart in and out and then to anticipate things that speaks to his ring IQ, right? Then his vision, what he's seen, right? It's listen, it's all there. He was born to fight. He was truly born to fight. Yo, you can't bully this dude. I've seen guys go in there try to bully. He puts it his form. Yo, if you want to get dirty with him, he'll get dirty. He'll get down and dirty. Yo, with Stephen Kubo Fulton, he was so wound up about that wrist wrap shit. You could see it in the way he was fighting. He was fighting pissed off. He was yo, listen, he was mad in that fight. There was only a few times I've seen him actually mad in a fight, but his culture and the way he trains kept him together. If I didn't know him as well as I know him, as I've been studying him, you might have not can tell that he was mad. But there was a few fights and he was pissed off, right? The Emmanuel Rodriguez fight, he was pissed off. He wanted to kill Emmanuel Rodriguez. Trust me, that fight, the Stephen Kubo Fulton fight, he was pissed off. And there was another. There was a fight with a Filipino guy. I don't know. I have to look back into what the Filipino guy actually did to him. But in that fight, he was pissed off because no, 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 no. Was it the Filipino dude or Japan? Japan? I remember he put his the guy tried to grab and put him in a headlock a few times, and the guy was fighting dirty against him, and he got mad. He was like and rubbed it, and then pulled out of him and just kept bashing him. Boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna look that fight up. I gotta find that fight out. But he was his confidence never sways, and that is something that as I watch him fight and through every test and every challenge that he's in, I check a box because there are certain things and certain moments you will never know if your fighter's built like that until he's in those situations and in those moments. You know, when he was cut and he was hit hard against O'Neal, that's when you really saw his championship pedigree shine the best. He was hurt in the fight. He persevered in the fight. He kept his composure in the fight. He kept winning the fight. He didn't shy away from the action. He kept being the aggressor in the fight and staying defensively sound and not allowing his opponent to re-injure that eye. He babied the eye. He protected and still managed to fight. That's a fighter. That's a fighter, bro. And you know, and it also comes to his level of dedication to the sport and the level of his superior mindset. With a man winning this much, having this many cameras in your face, I can imagine all the women throwing themselves at him, the money, the gifts from a lot of rich friends, the invitations to a lot of gatherings, and to still have the ability to stay focused. Not a lot of fighters can do that, and not a lot of no fighter trains for that. That's sometimes what takes your fighter out is not the ring or a defeat in the ring. Sometimes it's the lifestyle outside of the ring that takes your fighter away from you. Salvador Sanchez, he was a great young Mexican fighter. Car accident took him away from us. No one beat him in the ring. He was taken from us way too early, man. Way too early. You know, Errol Spence Jr. is being taken away from us because of the lifestyle that he lived outside of the ring. Yeah, yeah, man. It is some video game shit. It's crazy. It really is. And it's truly some legendary shit when it's all going to be tallied up. Unfortunately, like the boxing world and a lot of these big YouTube channels, they don't want to talk about his record. They don't want to talk about the ins and outs of all the things he's truly doing. You know why? Because they don't have anybody that can match it and they know it. That's like when they put LeBron against Jordan. They try to bring up this pointing title that he has all these points. Well, LeBron, that was never in the conversation. Who cares about a pointing title? We're talking about championships. That's kind of what they're doing with this guy. They're bringing up all kinds of other stuff. None of that other shit matters. The only thing that matters, and you're going to get credit for, are these belts, baby. And that's all we should be talking about. What kind of champion are you? And what kind of champion are you putting against him? Because whoever you're putting against him, right, we're only judging him for what he does in his weight division, right? That's the fair way. That's what he's doing. You see? So that's why they just want to yell louder and say, no, I'm the best. But they don't got nothing to show. There's not a boxer right now, currently, in the sport of boxing that can match him with credential for credential. There's not. The only man that's mirroring him in the biggest accolade that he has is Terrence Crawford. Because they're both have all four belts in two separate weight divisions. But that's where the similarities end. And if he has you matched at your highest award, where else do you go? To the back? What else have you done? That's what they're gonna say. So if you both, you doesn't matter the time frame. I don't care that the Japanese dude did it in 6 months. I'm gonna take that away. Yeah, it's impressive, but four belts are four belts. Who gives a fuck about the time frame, right? 6 months, 6 years, same thing. Four belts, four belts. You did it, I did it. Period. They're even. That washes that, that washes that. What did you do behind all that shit? That's where he just rocks everyone. And I mean, rocks them. No one right now has 23 world title fights in a row with no tuna fight in four weight divisions to add on to those 23 world title fights. From the moment he won his first world title at 6 professional fights until present day, he has not stopped fighting for world titles in four weight divisions. And I know that I say that fast, four weight divisions, but you got to think what it took him to do that. No tuna fights, and no, he used the champions as tuna fights. Yo, every time I say that, it's fucking video game shit, man. No one does that shit, bro. It truly is, man. Ah. So so that's why I say when you hear these other guys talk about everyone else, and they're yelling, beating their chest. Terrence Crawford's better. This guy's better. Yo, some pound for pound list to this day, they don't even got him top three. Nah, I've seen some real biased channels, man. Yo, they got some crazy fighters in front of them. Alexander Uzyk's in front of him. Saul Canelo Alvarez is in front of him. Terrence Crawford is in front of him on people's list. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, right? So I'm just like, wow, right? But they can say what they want. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. If you can't match what you're doing in your own weight division, show me that you're a better champion on paper. Show me legitimate. And I remind you, your champion cannot bring bullshit belts into the equation. If he doesn't have any fake jewelry on, then you can't bring any fake jewels in, meaning interim belts don't count. He don't got no interim belts. He never had an interim belt. He never wanted an interim belt, right? So how the fuck am I gonna allow you to be like, oh, my guy got like no, bro, he fought for fucking 7 interim belts. No, no, that you can't put real shit against fake shit and think you said some shit. No, that doesn't work that way. You got to get a champion that has fucking man, dog. He's killing these dudes, man. And then the Japanese dudes on top of it got 9 world champions. You name one right now. They're on fire. They took a couple losses. They took a couple losses. Mexico Abe, look, he beat him. He beat him. Abe lost. So Lewis pulled that off. So, but now Japan's gonna give revenge. Listen, Luis Pantera Nares, I really don't count him out. When I talk about boxing, I acknowledge that there's 2 men in this ring. And I must give both fighters credit. Both these men, first of all, are professional boxers, and both of these men are doing things that most men didn't have the balls to do. Continue on their journey, hard work, dedication, and become a real fighter. And so, first of all, I will always commend a boxer for getting in that ring and for everything that they put on the line each and every night. They lose a piece of themselves every time they get in that ring. You know, the special ones were able to keep a lot of wits about themselves because they got hit the fewest. So anyway, Lewis is in this fight, and although I don't really like his style in particular, a brawler's type style. Well, I don't like his style. I should rephrase that. I don't like his style against this fighter. Had it been anyone else, then his style would have been okay for me because he's really good at his style. In fact, he only lost to one person. Okay. So whatever he was doing got him here, all right. And he did play spoiler and beat that other Japanese dude, not once, but twice. We all understand the situation, the testing positive, the 5 pounds. Okay. Luis Nare, just in case you don't know, he was kicked out of Japan for coming in the second fight, 5 pound overweight. They had enough with his bullshit. They felt that he was disrespecting the sport and their rules, and he didn't respect them as, the Japanese, and they will kick your ass out of there. So, and they did. So they lifted the ban and they scheduled a fight, and here we are. So now, I tell you what, I never ever will. I'm willing, and I learned this because the Mexicans taught me this lesson. Never count the Mexicans out. Never count them out. They have seemed to have upset the cart on hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of occasions. Time and time, you hear this rarely, terribly unknown Mexican guy coming in against the champion. And this Mexican dude, where the fuck did he come from? And he just wipes the champion down. And I mean clean. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that. You know, I can't tell you how many times I thought that this Mexican champion was going to get his ass whooped. As a matter of fact, I cannot tell you honestly how many times I saw um Navarrete and I said, today's the day Navarrete's going to get his ass kicked. And nope. No, today's the day Navarrete's going to get his ass kicked. Nope. Now I stopped saying it. Now I'm like, fuck that. You're gonna have to show me you can beat Navarrete. How about that? And I got Navarrete in the fight. He changed me. He changed. Listen, I'm watching him fight. I'm like, Bro, this Mexican dude's style is trash, man. His footwork's garbage. His jab is garbage. And I'm watching him fight, and I'm like, wow. When he was green, I was like, man, he has goodwill. This motherfucker doesn't have no quit in him. Man, this motherfucker's tough. Man, come on, Navarrete. Come on, motherfucker, you can do it now. You came into the light. Come on, Navarrete. And I found myself doing that. And he won me over. He hit in the beginning. I can't say he understood himself all the way, but now Navarrete understands himself as a fighter. He doesn't try to change himself. He understood what got him there, and he's worked on exactly that. I'm not sure if it's his coaching that decided that or him himself, but great job on not trying to change him as a fighter and working on his strengths. And Navarrete he's a born fighter. Not every fighter that was born to fight has to be mad skilled. One good skill is that ability to take an ass whooping and not give up. That's a fucking skill. You ever see those crazy white boys? Right? And you're hitting them. Right? And they getting up. Buddy. And you're like, oh, you start to second guess yourself. You're like, oh, this motherfucker's a zombie. And you're like, down he goes. He gets back up. And he gets up and he's like, oh, give me more. And you're like, oh, shit. Oh, yo, you'll panic. Some fighters will panic. They'll break under that pressure like, God, and they're like, oh, man, I don't want to hit him. I don't want to get him mad, right? So, you know, there's just them fighters that, like Navarrete, man, he's one of those fighters. Ow, give me more. Like, and you're like, oh shit. And he can take a punch. But, it shows that every fighter has their button. Navarrete was caught in a fight. He was staggering all over against Wilson, and he was like moving around, and he caught him, and he came back in the fight to win it. But yeah, man, it just goes to show you, not every style it has to look, fluent. You know what I mean? It is what it is, baby. Let's read some of these messages. Carlos, I can see Naoya Inoue ending his career being a sixth division world champion. In a good world. In a good world. Honestly, check this out, guys. Here's a boss move. And I hope Naoya Inoue somehow, some way hears this or already has recognized this and has men in his corner that can see this from a mile away like I can. With him having 4 divisions already underneath his belt, from here on in it's checkmate. You couldn't stop him if you wanted to. And I'll tell you why. Check this out. He might not be able to unify all 4 belts. He might not get all the champions to fight him. No, we might not get that. But he doesn't need all 4 belts to become a 6th division world champion. He only needs 1 belt. He only needs 1 belt and 2 more weight divisions. Once he steps in 126, he can fight for the WBO. Guess what he can do at 130? He can fight for the WBO. From here on in, it's checkmate. It's only up to him to win the fights. He can claim 1 title in 126 and 1 title in 130. He makes him a 6th division world champion. All you need in a division is 1 major sanctioning body belt. That's all you need. You could vacate that belt, move into the next one, and win 1 belt, and now you are a 2 division world champion. You don't need all 4 belts, all 6, 3, 2. All you need is 1. And by securing the WBO, you got a ticket and a guarantee to your next fights in the future with the champions up there. Yeah. All he has to do is just hold this belt from here on in. It's checkmate from here on in. You can't stop him. He only got to win the fights. Fight the WBO champion at 126 and fight the WB champion at 130. Who can stop him? There's your six divisions right there. Yeah. But as far as him being undisputed or having multiple belts in the division, whether or not the other champions, the WBC, the IBF, and the WBA champion fight him, time will tell. That's all I can say on that. I I can't lie to you or make up. It's only if they sign up, puppy. That's that's the only way you're gonna get it. If they want the money, they want to dare to be great, they want his belts, X, Y, and Z. But that's the only way you're gonna get it. You can't force them to fight him. No, you can't. There's no mandatory that says you have to fight the WBO champion. No. Carlos, yes. Absolutely, baby. Well, it all depends on which way he wants to knock these guys out. It seems like he comes out every fight and finds new ways to knock the guys out. Remember when he knocked out Payano with that with the one jab in the right? I think he didn't anticipate it. He just saw the opportunity. That's it. I don't think he planned on knocking out Payano like that. The knockouts he planned was the Donaire knockout, the Jason Maloney knockout in Madison Square Garden. That was a setup knockout. He was throwing that same punch all night. The Stephen Kubo Fulton knockout was a planned knockout. It was almost like the punch that he knocked out Jason Maloney. That roll shoulder snap like a piston, straightforward, same punch. Yeah. Um, and then his body shot work is it's out of this world. The way he whips it like a whip, he like barely touches. Like he's not putting his whole glove in his stomach. Nah. He's just like scraping it like real hard. Kang! And like the shock wave is hitting your liver. And you can see the guys have a delay reaction. It's like bow, and it's like and then they're fine. They're like, and then they're like, and you just see them fall apart. Yeah. And then he has, just the blatant shot to the body, the gut. He's been turning people's lights out with those shots. His body work is vicious. And if you cover up downstairs, he's going to go upstairs. Um, and like I was saying, right before my man Chan donated to the channel and always gets me hyped, right? Um, when McDonald was in trouble against him and he went down the first time, he was up against the rope. Naoya Inoue was coming in. And McDonald, yo, kudos to him for being in trouble. His brain was rattled and he still saw the window. It was like this big. And Naoya Inoue was coming in and he was up like this and he was watching him. And he hit him. He hit him big. He went, boom! And his jaw went like this. And he just like looked at him and like a Terminator kept going forward. Boom, boom. But it was so fast. It wasn't like he hit him. He literally stood. No, it was like pop, 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 pop. It was more like that, right? That McDonald hit him with his best shot. His best shot. He fully walked into that punch. McDonald was on the rope, using the rope as like a little springing, and banged him. Bro, it didn't phase him. Not even in the slightest. The Japanese dude. He ate that punch, was like, that's all you got? Here, let me show you how to punch. Yo, he got a chin, bro. He can take a punch. He could take a real punch. And the only fight I would have loved to see him fight was Tank Davis, though I don't think we'll ever get to see that fight. There's a lot of fights that have truly passed by, and we just have to accept them. I believe that David the Monster Benavidez is never going to fight Saul Canelo Alvarez, and I've accepted it. I've accepted that. I know when I hear that he's going up to 175. Uh, you know, I think this is just another ploy of Saul once again stringing the young man along. He wasted 5 years of that guy's life. That guy could have been a real world champion for the past 5 years because of Saul Canelo Alvarez ducking him, having all the four belts. He didn't allow him to be a champion. And David Benavidez, the monster, could go down in history as a much better champion. But things like this, aging him out, waiting him out, and then finally saying, that was like Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvelous Hagler. He never wanted to fight Marvelous Hagler until the Marvelous one was already old. It was bad enough Marvelous Hagler didn't get his first title fight until he had 44 fights in. Everybody ducked him. They blackballed him in the sport of boxing so bad, in fact, that it took, I think it was the governor of Massachusetts, the Kennedy, to petition to give him a title fight. That's how bad it got for the man. That's how bad people used to duck back then. If you think it's bad now, oh, it was just so much ducking back then. Now they're trying to tighten it up on him. And now it seems like little by little, the cape is being pulled off Saul. And he knows he's at the end of his career. He knows that, this has gone on too long. And when you think it's gone on too long, it'll go on for another year. You know what I mean? Because, guys, for as talented as Munguia is, I like Munguia. I think he's an explosive fighter. He's a good kid. He's a good fighter. Uh do I believe he has enough to fight to beat Saul Canelo Alvarez? No, and neither does Saul's management, handlers, and probably a lot of real hardcore guys don't really see Munguia pulling this off. But Munguia, this is boxing. He has a chance, man. Munguia ain't no slouch. He's a good fighter. He hits hard. He had Ryder in all kinds of troubles early, and he did beat Ryder in a more impressive way, but there were a lot of big mistakes in Ryder's offense and his defense that were still mistakes you can't get away against a fighter like Saul Canelo Alvarez. Now, when Triple G couldn't get away with those same mistakes, I knew then that if any other fighter doesn't have that kind of skill, you're not going to be able to get away with that with him. Munguia is not a disciplined fighter where that you could fuck with his mental. He's not the type of fighter that I don't believe. The Ryder fight showed an improvement on it, I gotta admit. But without the Ryder fight, right? He doesn't stay to the game plan the entire fight. At some point in the fight, he gets greedy. He wants to do more. Rather than doing the dance the way it was worked out in your training, we want you to do X, Y, and Z. Maintain this. Don't feed into that guy. Don't allow him to get you in a slugfest. Don't fall for that. Time and time again, Mogia can't keep that mental focus, and he engages in it. You can get him to slug with you, and that's what Saul Canelo Alvarez is going to do. And if Mogia can't get that under control and stay to the game plan. If Munguia stays to the game plan for 12 rounds and he avoids damage though, he can't take a lot of shots from Saul. He can beat Saul in points. Yeah, Munguia can beat Saul in points. Yeah, he could. He could. He can outwork Saul for 12 rounds. It's just the discipline to maintain it. He starts off good, and then all of a sudden, at some point in the fight, Munguia falls asleep. He starts doing shit he wasn't doing in the fight. And then the shit he was doing in the first half of the fight, he stops doing it. He starts doing other shit. And I'm like, bro, that's not what got you there. It's his like at some point in the fight, Munguia's winning, and he's like starts going and taking unnecessary chances that he really shouldn't have been taking. And he gets in trouble in the fight. And that's Munguia. He doesn't have that mental fortitude to execute the game plan from start to finish. He doesn't. He doesn't. No. And that's what my fear is, that at some point in the fight, Canelo's going to get him in trouble and he's going to forget why he's there. He's going to forget what he was supposed to do. He's going to forget, you know what I mean? And then he's just going to start fighting off of instinct. And he's just going to go back to the old Munguia. And that's when I believe Canelo got you right where he wants you. Checkmate. Whether or not Munguia can get it back together, because there has been times in fighters where fighters will take a round or two off. Then their coach will be like, wake up, do what you were doing. And they snap back into it. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. Whether or not he can do that, I would have to see it. But like I said, he did that with Ryder. Freddie Roach looks to have him a little bit more calculated and a bit more patient. But as you can see in that fight, when he started getting a little impatient, Freddie Roach had to bring him back. He had to bring him back in the fight, remind him what the game plan was while he was there, why he is there, what they were doing. You see? And he brought him back because he started slipping away. He did. He started doing that same fucking shit that he always does. But, you know, yeah, yeah. And that's a good career move for David the Monster Benavidez, but a risky one. And these are the situations he has to put himself in. Why? Because the champion doesn't want to fight you. Ain't that a bitch? No, wait. I don't fight Mexican fighters. And he goes and fights a Mexican fighter. Wait, it's not about the money. Everybody want payday. Give me 200 million and I'll fight him. Bro, the evidence is just stacked up against him. In a criminal case, he couldn't you couldn't find a Johnny Cochran to get him out of this one. He's a duck. He's ducking him, and that's all that's to it. You don't look. You don't go on national TV, right, or live stream. And while David the Month 6 years ago, Saul Canelo Alvarez was on an interview. I remember this interview. You can go look it up. He's sitting there and they said, hey, do you want to fight the new 168-pound WBC world champion, David the Monster Benavidez? Because he has the belt. Saul, to unify. Saul only had 3 belts at the time. Saul said, no, I'm going to fight another fight. I don't want his belt. I don't want his belt. I don't need his belt. I'm going to fight another fight. They stripped David the Monster Benavidez for outside recreational drug use. And he got stripped of the belt. Guess who fought for the vacant belt? Which you can't do that. How the fuck are you going to have 3 belts and fight for the vacant WB? That's illegal to do. First of all, they let it happen, right? No sooner he gets stripped for the belt, Saul fights for it, wins it, right? And David the Monster is like, yo, no one ever beat me for that belt. I lost it, I was stripped. So I'm technically still the champion. I should be merited and Saul was like, yeah, 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 yeah. Here we are, present date. 6 years later, he's never fought him. But you're gonna say you can't do that. You can't. Nah, it's just crazy. So fight fans, listen, guys. Man, I always love chopping it up here. We'll be here till tomorrow morning, bro. I gotta get off sometime. You know what I mean? Listen, you guys have always been great. You know what I'm saying? On Sports Talk. Hey, listen, please give the video a like. Can we get some likes up in here? Let's get those likes up, please. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and always click that bell notification icon and allow you to know when I'm streaming. I will be going on tomorrow. So, fight fan, I'm on to the next one after this one here at Round One Sports Talk. Peace. Boxing family, good night.